We're close.
Yeah, you would have to really screw it up.
Yes, we are, aren't we?
That was a cool cabin.
All right, we'll call the council meeting to order. Welcome everyone tonight. We'll start with the invocation. Jeff?
Let's pray. Father, we bless and thank you for this day. We thank you for community. I ask that everybody in this room, the people that we represent, continue to seek your spirit. I think of goodness, I think of kindness, respect, self-control, love. As we go about our business in this community, I think of our state, I think of our country. Again, just continue to encourage us to seek that spirit you provide to each and every one of us. I ask now at this time that you provide sharp minds, humble hearts as we look at tonight's agenda. It's in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, welcome everyone to our April 19th second council meeting of the month. I'd like the minutes to reflect that 6 members are present and the 7th is present online. Diane, welcome for joining us. Our city attorney is online. And Jeremy Skinner's online as well. So let's start with the approval of the minutes from the 5th. Those have been presented, and we will roll call the vote with a member online. So any corrections to the minutes, or is there a motion to pass them as presented?
I'll move to approve the minutes as presented.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any
Jerry?
further discussion? All right, roll call. Diane Quantz.
Aye.
Jeff Gross.
Aye.
Josh Finch.
Aye.
Jerry Frush.
Aye.
Mike Clondaris.
Since I wasn't present, I'll abstain.
Jack Wilhite.
Aye.
Cindy Dobbins.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Welcome to our visitors tonight. Jeff, I think you have
Yeah,
a...
Caleb is a student of mine at Grace College. He's visiting tonight.
Great, welcome, Caleb. Is he a good teacher? You didn't have to say that. You don't have to tell
Probably
anyone.
getting close to the end of the semester.
At least he's wise.
Yeah, we better stop while we're ahead, but good seeing you, Caleb. Thanks for coming. All right. The fund report for March has been presented, listing our balances, current, beginning of the year balance and current balances. Lynn, anything of note that you wish to point out to the council?
Nothing to note yet, but in a few months, you're gonna be seeing different numbers, because we have to change them to 4 numbers. So all the funds will have 4 numbers.
Oh, the fund numbers are going to change.
Yeah. Like the general fund will be 1101, but after that, I don't know what's really gonna be changing.
All right.
Is that mandated by the state or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
State Board of Accounts.
No, Lynn decided to do it on her own.
Well, that's why I asked.
I think it has something to do with the,
I'm sorry, Mike, I couldn't resist that.
I think it's gonna.
You're
have
on a roll tonight, Mayor.
I think it's actually gonna have something to do with the annual report, and instead of seeing every fund on the annual report, they're gonna group them into like 4 groups or 5 groups. I think it's gonna be crazy, so that's all I can tell you for now, that's all I know.
I'm sure they have a reason.
I'm sure they do.
All right, well, thank you for that report. With that, let's move on to unfinished business. If you remember at the last meeting, we had our first reading on the salary amendment. This amendment was primarily recreational from the Parks Department, and I know Jennifer is here if you want to come up and add anything. Basically, we're trying to bump our wage to attract lifeguards. I think we've been lagging behind a bit, and it's creating a concern.
You are correct. We did notice that our applicants were reduced, even the returning ones who have already been trained. And when Larry and I looked at this and we bumped it up a little bit, or requesting that we are able to do this, then they started to want to come back. So I believe that it's just trying to remain competitive with other employers right now. The lifeguard, Mayor Talmer is absolutely correct. That is the, probably the hardest position that we're still struggling on filling is the lifeguards.
So have you seen activity already of more interest?
Yes, yes,
Based
we
on
have.
this?
We
Okay.
have, yes.
Pending your approval tonight.
Yeah,
Well, obviously, because of the last one, they see it maybe going in a favorable position.
yes, yes. I'm sorry, go
Why
ahead.
was I thinking about it?
Well, one of them could be the recreation supervisor, and we did not adjust that because we have an individual, Stephanie, that is kind of taking over that in her current full-time role, is the way I understand it. Right. But I don't know if anybody remembered Becky Bailey, who worked for the park department for years and years and years. She's actually going to come back and work at the skate park. So it's people that have already been trained and have been with us for several years.
All right. I would ask that if you're speaking, that you speak up, because I know a little light, and want to make sure everybody on screen can hear. So,
Is the mic on?
That mic is on.
yes,
Okay.
Both the mics are on.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I'm fine.
All right, thank you. Okay. Other questions?
How much did they go up?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I wish that I would have brought my piece of paper. It's sitting up there on my desk. It's anywhere from, I think it's $2.75, depending on what position, and some of them are as little as 15 cents. The campground manager would be that one. Yeah. And the lifeguards, that's the biggest increase.
Yeah.
We actually probably be more than that. The maximum, I believe, was $12.25, and we want to take it up to 14.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I move to approve ordinance 2021-42.
I'll second that.
All right, motion's been made by Councilman Gross, seconded by Councilor Dobbins. Any further discussion? All right, we'll roll call. Councilor Quantz?
Aye.
Gross?
Aye.
Finch?
Aye.
Frush?
Aye.
Banderas?
Yes.
Wilhite?
Aye.
And Dobbins.
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
motion passes 7-0. So on second reading, so the salary ordinance is amended. All right, let's move into new business. Item number 1 is conflict of interest statement from Mr. Brubaker, Mike Brubaker from the fire department. Mike works for G&G Hauling and Excavating. This is a uniform conflict of interest disclosure, kind of a blanket, and that has been presented to you. I don't know why the other pages aren't on here. Do you have a copy of that, Lynn? Mike's? Can I see it for just a moment? He basically lists his description of financial interest as the wages for work he's completed. And that's basically it. That's all it was at on the second page. Sorry, I don't know why that first or second page didn't get put on your, but everything that he put down here as far as what he does, who he works for, is all accurate, and his financial interest is that he's an employee. So I would just ask for your approval, And Cindy turned hers in tonight, but I haven't been able to hand copies out, so I think we'll just wait till the next meeting to do that, so everybody has a chance to look at that and just, they're good with that. So, is there a motion to accept the uniform interest, conflict of interest disclosure statement? Diane, did I see you raise your hand? Okay, is there a second?
I would move. Or
Second?
Second, yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, we'll roll call. Quants?
Aye.
Gross?
Aye.
Finch?
Aye.
Frush?
Aye.
Clondaris?
Yes.
Wilhite?
Aye.
And Dobbins?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's move into item number 2. These are tax abatement continuations that, I think there are 4 here. Jeremy, are you going to present these tonight?
Yeah, I can just run through all 4 if you'd like, and then you can approve them one at a time, or approve them all at the same time, whatever you.
All right, that sounds good.
The first 2 on the list, or on the actual memo that I sent out, are the 1445 Polk Drive. Both of them are Patrick Industry. The original phase 1 of the shell building was roughly 60,000 square feet. When Patrick Industry occupied that shell building, they added another 64,000 square feet. They've spent, on both, all of it together, they've spent well over $9 million and have hired about 147 employees in that area. The one, because the shell building was on the market for a number of years, it's in its 6th year of abatement, and the addition, the 64,000 square feet, this will be the 2nd year of that abatement. The 1195 Polk Drive was the 2nd shell building we built in the tech park, and it's going to be occupied. I know it's somewhat occupied now by Nextremity. They're still working on their office space within that facility, but it will be occupied by Nextremity. With our 2nd shell building, they have roughly $3.7 million that they spent, and I think they're adding some additional, it'll end about around $5.9 million. These are all, the West Hill and then the West Hill Investment Group are all real property improvements, because the properties are leased. Any personal property abatement would be supplied by either the Patrick Industry or Nextremity. I recommend we continue tax abatement on all those. The last tax abatement is for BTC investments. I think we approved this one last year, so this would be the first year of their abatement. Depending on how it's assessed or what it's assessed, this is also a real property abatement out of 133 Enterprise Drive, roughly a 12,000 square foot addition, project value of $525,000. This would also be their first year of abatement. There were no jobs. They leased property. There was no jobs tax abatement. I would recommend we continue abatement on all 4.
All right, and I would just add, Jeremy, Nextremity is in their building as far as their production. They're up and running. I know they're finishing off the expansion of their office space. I believe in July they will have a ribbon cutting. So they are firmly entrenched in that building. And
Nice looking building.
they're just getting things just pretty much finished up now. So, all right, questions? I don't see any representatives from any of these companies here. So I'll just ask for do you prefer to do these one at a time? Want to take them all at once? Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Good with it?
All right.
So I'll make a motion that we approve Part A of all these tax abatements this evening for the CF1 compliance forms.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Jerry. All right. Any further discussion or questions of Jeremy? All right, we'll roll call. Diane?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Mike?
Yes.
Jack?
Aye.
And Cindy?
Aye.
All right. Passes unanimously. And thank you. Jeremy, any final comments?
No, thank you, appreciate it.
All right, appreciate you joining us tonight. So those are all taken care of. So let's
Thank
move.
you.
Let's move into item.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Was that just for A, or was that for all four, Mike?
That's what I'm wondering, because I thought there was A, B, C, D.
Yeah,
Are
I
they all-
think they were all listed.
Okay.
they're all listed,
Okay.
but I
all
wanted to
right.
make sure,
Yeah.
because it sounded like Mike only moved for
You're
A.
right. I was thinking that, okay, yeah.
Well, I asked if you wanted to do them all, and you shook your head yes.
All four.
Yeah. Is that,
I got tongue-tied.
all right, no problem.
Okay, so you meant to do all four?
Yeah.
The point
Okay.
of order would be, who made the second? Was it Jerry? You agree to that also, that it was
Yes.
Paul? Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gross, for your parliamentary
Yes, thank you.
acumen.
In that teachable moment.
Trying to be a good teacher.
All right. Let's move on. Tonight, we are introducing ordinance 2021-0405. This is the establishment of a city trash fee. This proposal that is included in your packet tonight is pretty basic. It's basically an amendment. It's an ordinance, excuse me. It's a rate ordinance that establishes the rate per dwelling unit of starting July 1st of $8 per dwelling unit through the end of the year, and then that will increase $1 for the next 4 years up to $12 from 2025 and beyond. So it's the bill, it will be on the utility bills, and it's billed to owners of residential property that are 4 units or less. As far as apartment buildings, it would be each dwelling unit would be charged that $8 per month. A second item that was of note, it should be considered and open for discussion, will be the utilization of paper lawn bags or refuge storage containers for grass clippings, leaves, and other vegetative matter. You may remember when we had a year-end report from the street department, they spent much unnecessary time cutting open over 15,000 plastic bags. And those are all bags that have material that will go into the mulch pile. And the city has to apply for a permit to be able to compost and mulch. And part of that requirement is that all refuse is deposited in paper bags and not plastic. So that's been added as well. There's also a point here. This allows city, item number 5, I'm just going to read it. In order that federal, state, and local environmental and public health and safety standards can be enforced and those interests can be protected, it is hereby noticed and declared to be a policy and intention of the city to from time to time open and examine contents of containers placed for collection under Chapter 66 and to take appropriate enforcement action in the event of violations of the requirements and standards established by this chapter for those utilizing the city's garbage and refuse collection and/or disposition services. So that just gives the city, evidently the city takes control of that property when they take your trash, and they have certainly the right to open it up and make sure that there's conformance. So with that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about where we're at tonight. We're not voting. We're just merely introducing the ordinance. Earlier this year, we convened a committee of 3 council members to look at the costs to provide curbside waste for our residents of, again, 4 units or less, which includes weekly trash service, yard waste removal, and biweekly recycling services. Annual cost to provide these services is just, it's about $915,000 a year. And quite simply, the cost to provide services for our growing community is challenged by the negative impacts of property tax caps. I would refer you to the Baker-Tilly comp plan, financial plan. They had a summary, and on page 18 of that, it shows our circuit breaker losses projected to increase. In 2020, we actually lost 3.7% of our revenue to the circuit breaker losses. 2021 is projected to be 4.7%, and 2022 is 6.5%. So I can't tell you how they figure that or why that happens. I do know at way back in 2011, I think it's about $305,000 was our initial property tax cap bite. It's been as high as $780,000. Now, it backed down the last couple of years, but the projections are for those circuit breaker losses to take our revenues, continue to reduce our revenues. So that is probably one of the biggest issues that the Baker-Tilly Comp Financial Plan has brought out. Even the last 3-4 years, that is the trend as our revenue decreases, and that's a significant portion of that. We are also at our max levy. As you know, we cut taxes significantly 2 years ago, and last year we were able to save our taxpayers, those with a $100,000 home, $100 a year. A $200,000 home would save $200 a year, and that was pretty much because of us being at our cap. Because of the expanded AV, we, by formula, had to lower that rate to stay under the levy. So we are constrained by that as well. And obviously, with the growth that the city is enjoying and the increased demand to provide services, those are really the three main reasons why we're up against these revenue concerns. In that same comp financial plan, there's also some discussion about the reduction, increase in spending and reduction in reserves for 7 operating funds: general, fire, MVH restricted, LRS, park, cemetery, and aviation. Those revenues are not the revenues, but their cash reserves have dropped $1.5 million in the last 2 years. And had we not had that about $850,000 pension relief last year, we would have been well over $2 million in reductions in our reserves. So, that's why we have the comp financial plan. It allows us to look at trends so that we can get out ahead of these things. And, we're not, as I told the committee, the rats aren't jumping off the ship, but we can't continue to watch these revenues decline without attempting to do something. I know the last 3 years, and I know you've all remembered that Baker-Tilly has made a recommendation every year that we established a trash fee to at least offset some of the cost. Doesn't necessarily have to be the entire $915,000, but with increases in the costs from inflation and with an expanded service area, it's not going to get any better. So I presented this information, Jerry and Mike and Josh, and we've spent last few months looking at that information and trying to come up with a way to supplement our costs to pick up trash. I've got an old survey from, I think there's about 95 communities in the state, and there's probably right now close to 80% of the communities have trash fees. that average around $14 per month per residential unit. I think what you're seeing is a proposal to ask for a trash fee that probably is going to, at $8 per household per month, will probably take care of about half the cost for us to provide the quality services that our citizens have been so used to, and have in the last few years seen improvements in automation, and the grapple truck has made the collection of yard debris and large items a tremendous service that the city continues to improve on. Dustin will be here next month, and he has a presentation that he gave to the Waste Committee to talk about these specific details. But I think it's worth noting that the quality of curbside service that we provide can still be done in-house, cheaper, and much more effectively, and more responsive to our community needs. And I think the curbside group would agree that no one wants to look beyond what the city has been able to do. But we have to be smart, not only about their ability to do that, but looking at our entire budget situation in light of tax caps that continually are eating into our ability to raise revenue. Let's see. So again, I think tonight, I just wanted to have a little discussion, introduce it. You've all had a chance to look at the ordinance. We'll certainly dive deeper into it. On May 3rd, we will have a public hearing. And again, at that point, I'll have Dustin come and present the street side of this issue. And again, after hearing the concerns with our revenues tonight, hopefully we'll be able to put all that together and come up with a solution. So again, council members Frush, Clounderis, and Finch have been representing the council at these meetings, and I know they certainly probably have something to add tonight. So I'd ask them to comment. I didn't tell them they were going to be doing this, but I know they've taken a good deep dive into this, and I'm sure they have their thoughts. So whoever wants to go first, Jerry?
Sure, why not? You know, I'm not one that wants to raise fees for everybody, but this I see has to be done at this time. Now, I know we could have raised it $14 up to $12, but we feel like that raising a small amount each year will be a lot easier on the taxpayers. And I've kind of fought for that for our sewage fee a couple years ago, and we're going to do something this time that we didn't do then, but where we're going to make a small increase each year, and it will be, I would think, to be more realistic to do it that way than put a fee in now, and jump it 2 or 3 years later, a big number. It's necessary that we do this, because like you said, we can't keep pulling money out of the pot, because that pot's going to get empty for very long.
Jerry, I appreciate you bringing that gradual increase up. I think that was pretty much the will of the group, that we start low and just look at gradually bringing this thing in. And I know you're all very purposeful about that. And I think it's important to know that that's been a part of what's being presented here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Mike?
Well, Mayor, I thought you did a great job explaining this, I think it's fair to say that the three of us went into this not wanting to have to raise money to do this. I can honestly say I wasn't really for it, but once you start looking into the facts, why the state has done what they've done with tax caps, maybe they're just trying to force municipalities to make some hard decisions on their own, which I think we've done here. As you said, all we're trying to do is subsidize this. We're not trying to pay for the whole thing. We're just trying to give some relief to our budget by coming up with a number. I have a sister who lives in the county, and she told me she pays $26 a month for trash removal. So by living in the city and paying $8, I would say that's probably a bargain. And it's one of the benefits of living in the city. You have your trash picked up. You dispose of it, bag it up, get it out, and the city takes it from there. So that's one of the perks, I think you could say, of living in the city. As far as the number of years that we decided on, I think it's maybe worth noting that we went in with the idea that the fees will have to be re-looked at in the middle of the next council's term. We didn't want to get out there too far and dictate what those people are going to be charging. So it's going to be up to them to come up with a new fee. And while I'm on that subject, when we were discussing this last week with the city attorney, we were trying to decide on some language. And in this particular document, the 2025, the word "and beyond" was not in the document that we looked at 2 weeks ago or last week. And I'm wondering if that couldn't be construed as from 2025 and beyond, it's always going to stay $12. I'm wondering if there's a different language that we might put in there, or change that wording to perhaps to be revised or revisited or recalibrated or something. But when I first saw it, I thought, well, is it going to stay $12 beyond that certain date? So I don't know, just a thought that maybe the lawyer should look at, or just want to bring it up. But these are hard decisions, and we're here to make hard decisions. And we have a fiduciary responsibility to keep the city solvent and be wise with the taxpayers' money. And I think we've met both those criteria, and we're providing top flight service. So, thank you.
Josh?
Yeah.
Josh, would you pull the microphone over? Just thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah,
A little bit?
great.
Yep, okay. Jerry and Mike pretty much covered everything. I think you did a great job, Mayor, of kind of laying this out for everybody. Obviously, it was deliberated over quite a bit, a good many hours. I don't know how many, but between conversations between Jerry, Mike, and I, and then the mayor and Dustin as well. First off, I think Dustin and his team should get a little bit of recognition here, and I'm sure we'll talk about them here in the coming meetings. But I think they've just done a tremendous job of not only with the trash, but just the whole street department in general. I think if you talk with most street superintendents, one of the most expensive assets for them to maintain are the trash vehicles. Whether it's the grapple truck or it's just the old traditional one, they, for whatever reason, cost a lot to maintain year over year. And as our city continues to grow and expand, and more trash stops, which I believe you guys remember the number off your head. There's 4,600 stops approximately. That might be trash cans as well. But the point is, a lot of stops are being made. I think it's a tremendous service. And one of the things to note is, if any of you all have ever had a trash service outside of the city, I have before I lived in the city limits. Customer service, probably not the strongest suit for some of these larger organizations coming to collect the trash, and I think you could speak to Dustin and his team about this, but I think the customer service here is tremendous. I know for a fact they've made multiple runs. If they couldn't get everything at one stop, they've finished the route, sent a truck back out, picked everything up, and that has a lot to do with the beautification of the city, not only with the trash service. Obviously, we don't want people driving through our city visiting and seeing trash on the sides of the road. So, I just wanted to, obviously, I'll piggyback off of what they said and say that I think this is a very necessary fee, one that was maybe or maybe not in favor of going into it, but after the discussions were had, and I think there's a lot of logic behind it, to try to essentially capture half of the revenue that's being lost with this service makes a lot of sense. And I think it's a great step in continuing not only the beautification of our city, but just the service we're providing to the constituents.
Thank you, Josh. I just wanted to read a few more statistics with regards to the quality of service. With the new grapple truck, not only do they pick up large amounts and sizes of yard waste, they picked up 81 grapple truck loads of brush in 2020, but they also picked up 1,341 large items were removed with that grapple truck. And then just average garbage, the normal garbage, 3,427 tons of refuse collected. So I just want to reiterate what the committee found in our discussion was that the quality of service again, we're talking everything, yard waste, large items, recyclables, and curbside waste, all for $8 and all being provided. And I will note that we do contract out the recyclable portion just for fairness, but the city is doing the rest of the work. So I'm sorry, Jerry, you have another comment.
Dustin did say one thing about the paper bags.
Yes.
That the city or street department will furnish up to 5 paper bags per month.
Yes.
For you to put your leaves and yard trash in. So,
right, and I was going to let him talk about that program, but he has, the city has purchased a lot of those paper bags. I'm not going to give you the number because I know it's a lot. I asked him to do that.
Okay.
We need to try and implement that portion of this for the second half of the year, and we're going to try and provide those bags and have a little bit of a grace period, but implement that. That's the purpose. And Jerry, you're right. There will be, I think, up to 5 bags per month provided by the city.
That's what he said. If a person wouldn't need that much, of course, you could always turn them back in.
Sure.
Well, I went through recycling today because they had free recycling, and anybody that went through there, they were offering you 5 bags.
Bags, right. So, Diane, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I think that's good to note that this week for Earth Day, the city is offering 5 bags to anybody that wants to drive out to the street department and pick them up. You just need to show proof of residence so you can get started with using those right now.
Yeah, they're a little different than the plastic, but
Yeah.
they work. They're 30-gallon. They work.
He did say they need to be tied shut with either twine or baling twine, baling stuff. You can't use plastic tape, which I had been guilty of. And he told me I shouldn't do that, and so I didn't. Last time I got baling twine, and it works fine.
I know Dustin has got an approximation of the cost it takes to cut 15,000 bags. And again, that was just another cost-cutting measure that the committee agreed to, that thought was important. And as I'd mentioned, having that compost permit does require that the city have an ordinance that they will only pick up paper. So that allows us to get that composting going again, and that's also to the benefit of the community, because that composting is all returned back to our residents. So, Scott, did you have a comment? Attorney Royst is on the line. I know Mike had a question about the verbiage 2025 and beyond. Any comments there?
Yeah, when we spoke last about this issue, we intended in our discussions to have it start at $8 and then go up $1 per year for the next 5 years. And I believe it was the will of the committee to not project the pricing past that. But we also had concerns if we ended it on 2025, what would be the cost in 2026? Would it go back to zero? Would it be some other cost? And so I believe we chose to have it say 2025 and beyond would be $12, and it would remain that way like every other ordinance unless there was some further action by the city council to change it from $12 in 2026 to some other number. And I guess obviously the city council always has an opportunity to amend ordinances, and this is just what the intention would be for 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025 and beyond. But I think we wanted to capture that there would not be an unknown number. We project it to be $12 in 2026 unless there's further action in 2027 and going forward, unless there's further action and the city council decides they want to make it a different rate at some later time.
So I think the other thing to note, and this also came up in the discussion, was this could be amended at any time. So if there was a need or a desire to maybe stop, if there happens to be a different council in 2024, they could take this up right away. And even this council could take it up earlier if necessary. So there's no lock on these rates as far as council action. This is just basically if left alone, this is what the rates will go to. And I think our attorney's point is well taken. We didn't want after 2025 for it to revert back to zero because of no action. So we left it at the $12. So I don't know if there's any verbiage that is any different, but I think the most important thing is that we could easily in this council or a future council amend this ordinance. Is that correct, Scott?
Yeah, you can always, as long as you follow the law, amend the ordinance at any time. And I know that the committee was not interested in just a flat $1 per year indefinitely going forward, that they were comfortable picking these numbers for the next 5 years. And to the best of my recollection of the meeting, we wanted to have something available for 2026 if there was no further action by the council, so it would not revert to zero, but they were comfortable with it being at that $12 number for the year after 2012 unless there was further action by the city council.
Mike, any?
I agree with everything he said. And I guess I just didn't want someone to read that and say, oh, well, it was their intention just to stop there. We just didn't want to dictate to them, you know, from the grave, so to speak, what they should be charging. And
Careful how you talk there, Brady.
and just let them know that, you know, we took the ball this far, and now it's going to be up to them. And maybe and beyond is, you know, to infinity and beyond. Maybe and beyond is the best way to put it. I was just wondering if there might not be.
Well, you know, we had a lot of discussion on this one point.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one, and you know, the other side of that is, you all could have said, we're just gonna go up $2 for the next 2 years and be done. But you were very purposeful in wanting it to be a very gradual increase. The other side of that is, it's kind of hard to project increases in the future, when someone else may be responsible for that.
Yep.
But I think this got the point across that we were starting at a low amount, and that we were adding just a small amount per year, not requiring maybe any more than $1 a month. And then it's in the ordinance and can be amended at any time by anyone. And I think at the end of the day, that makes it about as close as you can get, so.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I just threw it out there for, you know, more minds on it, more eyes on it. Maybe somebody has a better way to phrase it, but maybe not. Maybe we nailed it.
Mike, that's what I've never seen and beyond before in an ordinance. So, but I understand the idea behind it. I do also like the idea that in 2024, 25, there would have to be a review. I was even thinking, don't put it in there to force the mayor and the council to, we have 2026, we need to look at this to set the rate, to force a reevaluation. Is it enough? Is it too much? Who knows what could happen? I'm also encouraged in item 4 that the paper bags, I circled that. I was going to school this morning and I saw a family, they had one on Main Street, and they looked really cool. Now, where'd they get those, all that? And I was thinking there'd be a run in town on those bags, but if we're offering it and we get used to it, I really like that idea. I wanted to know, it also says in item 4, or a refuse storage container. Is that, I've got a garbage can on my property, I put the grass in there, and I slide it out there, they'll take it? What, it says biodegradable paper lawn bags or refuse storage containers. Tell me as a resident what that, is that a garbage can full of vegetation? Or?
Yeah, that, I saw that as well. I'm going to defer to Dustin to answer that next month. I think the city attorney was looking at a lot of different communities that had like ordinances. So we can certainly address that at that time.
That, I do like that because I just had to reseed the front of my tree lawn and had a lot of dead grass and dirt, super heavy. And I could see where I'm gonna try to get it out there so they can take it, where a bag may not be in the best interest, certain types of vegetation or large sticks or, you know, that could poke through or whatever. So I like it, I just didn't know, how would you define it? What is that?
Save that question for
Yeah,
next
okay.
month, because do you all remember that discussion? I don't think we talked specifically.
No, we didn't talk about
One
it.
thing you have to remember, no matter what you're putting it in, a paper bag or container, it cannot weigh over 40 pounds.
That too, see, that's a good.
And it has to be organic material.
Yes.
It's all that.
No
So,
trash,
yeah,
just
and
organic.
I'm not going to put it in the normal tote that we have. So how would that work to help the resident? I really like it, and I'm just saying, just clarification so we know and we can get it on the right path. So I really appreciate the efforts of the committee and the street department. I think this is a good thing.
You know, this is another one of these ordinances that is brand new. I mean, city's never had anything like this before. It's really great. We're moving forward. And very poignant that we're bringing this to the forefront on Earth Week.
The other thing I will see is, and I appreciate it, you can contract it. You know, you mentioned the county, you mentioned people not inside the city limits. I still am unwilling, I like the idea that the chairman of the board is an elected official, the mayor. and then the board are elected officials. So it can be a different kind of trash service that I would say is friendlier for the resident, I'm a weekend warrior, and it's friendlier for the neighborhood, because there oftentimes we can see different kind of action due to the mayor and the council controlling it, rather than it's a private company, we need to call and see if they'll work with us and all that. I like it that it's elected officials that will take the lead on this for the community at this point.
You know, that's a really great point, because we did have that discussion. Do we just say, okay, we're just going to contract it out? And we pretty quickly dismissed that idea. We don't want to lose control of it. We want to have that personal service.
And the mayor has heard it. I am one of those weekend warriors where I have really improved my property. And I would make the argument that the neighbors in my neighborhood, taxpayers, that they have helped me because I've been allowed to put different items out. I've done it. Contracting is different. But just like what I did this, if I didn't get a landscaper, I did it. Okay, my back is still feeling it. But I did it, and the city's gonna help me get rid of that dead grass and everything. And so, along with trash, so I still like the idea. I'm willing to let go, and again, that takes me back to appreciate everybody's efforts to hold on to it and realize it's not something that's just for free. There is a cost, so appreciate it.
I think something else I might add that came up during the discussion as well, and I think Dustin will hit on it next month, is Dustin's also out looking at ways to improve efficiencies with the routes. He's trying to cut down on the number of days that there's trash cans out on a certain main street through town, and or colliding with the recyclable containers and the regular containers on one side, then the other, then the next section. So he's really working hard to try and improve the routes as well. Again, I think just whoever has said it talked about the work that Dustin has done, and Jeff Beeler before him, getting the proper equipment, putting the routes together. We provide first-class service. And if there's a hiccup, typically there's very little hesitancy to go back and make it right. And, that is to me, I feel not bad about trying to have some help with the cost to do that. But the recommendations came from the committee, and I know we've had a lot of discussion. Again, next month, we will have a public hearing, and then we will require 2 readings. So I imagine we're looking at 3rd and the 17th next month before any final action can be taken. And if we need more time to get it right, we'll certainly do that. The idea is to try to get to July 1st to implement this and to also start the paper bag rule. So with that, go ahead.
Can I make a couple of comments, please? So,
Maybe.
if you guys remember right, when you voted to increase the stormwater fees, that implementation goes at January 1st. And the collection office has a lot of year-end duties and beginning year-end duties. And so, not to confuse the increase of this collection with the stormwater, would you consider going July 1st every year to June 30th for the stepping up of the implementation?
We talked about that, but thought perhaps it was easier for you to do, or for your department to put them all on the same time.
I think it would be easier for them to have the 2 different times. So just consider that. And then the other thing too is that nowhere in this ordinance does it say what fund the money should be deposited into or receipted into. So I think that's important because it is in the stormwater ordinance, the original one, and state statute does spell it out for wastewater.
All right, duly noted. I know we had quite a bit of discussion on the timing and the dates, and I think the council was pretty, committee anyway, was pretty set on the way that it's been presented here. But we certainly can have further discussion and take that into account. certainly we need to add to this where the proceeds of the charge will be deposited. So Scott will have to add that into the ordinance, and that's a good point.
So, Mayor, is that a discussion we need to have before we have a public hearing, or at this meeting, or should we have another committee meeting?
I think probably another committee meeting if there's a
Okay.
desire to do that.
Can we include the clerk treasurer in
Sure.
that meeting? Okay.
So if you want to set up a meeting to discuss that, we'll be happy to do that.
We really did talk about
We
it.
talked a lot about it.
Yeah, Joe said, when I said something to the mayor earlier, he said you guys had really batted that one back and forth. And I spoke with the ladies at the payment office, and they would be more comfortable with the July 1st to June 30th implementation.
Well, if it, if you're not quite as busy that time of the year, I guess it'd be the simplest thing to, or
We were
smartest thing to
really
do.
thinking we were helping you by,
Yeah,
Well, the liens are always filed after we receive our taxes in December and June too. So that would just be one less thing to worry about in January of doing the two-step thing rather than just waiting till July 1st to do the second step for the wastewater.
Yeah, I think that's an administrative detail that if we want to revisit that with the committee and Lynn, I think we should do that before we meet. And because we're going to have to clean a couple things up on this ordinance. Again, the reason for introducing the ordinance
Right.
tonight. So,
But we definitely need to put something in here about what fund it
Yep,
should be deposited.
absolutely.
thanks for your input, Lynn.
You're
yeah.
welcome.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask the committee a question. This has been kind of batted around for a number of years. It's been off and on. And it's been pretty much my feeling that almost every council person on this council has been pretty much against any kind of a fee, period. I've got reasons for having taken a different position, and I'm just wondering, what was that aha moment for you guys that said, you know what, we really need to take a hard look at this and maybe implement one?
Well, I can tell you what it was for me. It was tax caps and dipping into our reserves. That's not sustainable.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. I think once we sat down at that first meeting, really looked at the numbers, I couldn't not support some sort of a revenue. I think it was an unsustainable path to continue down not doing anything. So I think that I kind of got the feeling that we had to do something. And you can say whatever you want about the state or anything else where some of our revenues are going, but we have to play the cards we're dealt. And I think the cards we're dealt right now probably puts us on a path to run out of money in about 10 years or less. So I think that there was from our reserves. So I think that for me, it was kind of an easy decision to implement something.
Yeah, I thought, went along for a long time thinking, well, that's just part of the things what we're paying property taxes for in the first place. But then when they started showing that, hey, we're taking some money from another fund, we're drawing that, or what slush fund or whatever you want to call it, drawing it down each year.
Reserves, yeah.
Reserves, yeah. We got to do something about it. I know my son lives out south town on Road 300 South. It cost him $26, $27 a month to get his trash picked up. And he's got a little tiny bag, And so Yeah, I figured $8 a month, that's a steal.
And I think what you've voiced is pretty much the track that I had gone down as well, realizing that, between the caps, which I believe is constitutionally mandated now,
State constitution.
constitutionally mandated now, and the fact that property taxes are not as high as they could be because the state has kind of suppressed them. At the same time, the fact that they've suppressed them means we don't get the money from the state that allows us to continue on. So to Mike's point earlier, maybe this is the state's way of keeping government closer to the people, which in a roundabout way is a good thing. So that's what I've got to say about it right now.
I think we saw that with the wheel tax locally. And I mean, I think you're right, and those are, Governor Daniels is the one that implemented this, and cities and towns have been impacted by this since and have been having to go to more local sources, be it a tax, be it, again, this recommendation. My aha moment came from Baker Tilly 3 years ago when they showed the revenue concerns that were not going away. And this is the third year that they've made that recommendation for a fee for curbside collection. And I know last year we talked about it, State of the City, and lo and behold, within 24 hours, everything changed. So we deferred, and we had to kick the can on that one. But here we are, and I imagine we'll get another report from Baker Tilly in about the middle of July with the new information, and I think we're going to see the same thing. So the advantage of a comprehensive financial plan, of allowing professionals that deal with municipal governments and municipal finance and spending and budgeting, they see in a very formalized way not only where you've been, but where you're going. And it's been invaluable. It makes sense when I sit down to meet with this group. It's not me saying this is happening. It's here, look at comprehensive financial plan that we've invested in, and I feel has gotten us to the point where we can make these decisions well ahead of a time where we're going to have a crisis or a difficulty. Like I said, we lowered taxes 2 years ago. I think even with this fee, it won't get things back up to where it was. But I think that what you guys said made perfect sense as far as your aha moment. To me, it was the fact that our municipal finance professionals, year after year, have been telling us the same thing. So.
This also is a city.
I just want to applaud the committee's decision to keep this service within the city. I think it's one of the things that makes Warsaw special. I think we have great services, whether it's our trash pickup, our parks department, our cemetery, our wastewater. They're responsive to citizens when they call. They go the extra mile to get things taken care of. And I think that's a really important thing that distinguishes a city like Warsaw from a big city, and that it's something that we want to retain. And I think for me, when members of the committee talked to me about, I was one of those people that didn't want to raise it at all because it seems like it should be the right of the citizens of the city to have this service. But we do need to pay for it, and because we need to pay for it, I think we need to continue to offer that same level of service. And the only way we can do that is by keeping it in-house, where we can monitor what's going on, and we can adjust things, and we can make changes, and we can add a pickup when there's a big storm. We can do all kinds of things like that I think are very responsive to the needs of our citizens. So I want to thank the committee for making every effort to keep it in-house. And I know that in order to keep it in-house, it's going to cost some money. But I think the benefits far outweigh what we would see if we had people individually contracting for trash. We would definitely have some people that would not pay for that, and we would have trash piling up along our streets. And I think you said it, Josh, it's part of the beautification of the city to make a commitment to this.
You know, Diane, I'm going to piggyback off that just a little bit. Any successful business person will tell you that the key to their success in their business is relationship. And that's what the city has, I think, with their citizens in providing this trash service. It's a personal relationship with its citizens. And you can't farm it out and get that.
Well said. I appreciate the comments. And I know there's going to be more discussion. But I think tonight was a good way to just introduce this, not be burdened by having to make a decision, but I think we pointed out a few things that we need to retool before we present this ordinance formally next month. And obviously got just a little bit more work to do, but I think for the most part, it's pretty simple what we're asking, and there's just a few details I think that we can iron out with the committee and with Lynn's office, and I think we'll be ready to go on May 3rd.
You know, Mayor, if you said this, but I just want to reiterate it, that we have a recycling program that we do contract out for, and part of this money that we're hoping to be able to collect to take care of our waste does go to pay for that contract. So this isn't just about taking your trash out. This is also about your yard waste, and it's about your recycling waste. It covers all three bases. So.
All right.
Good job, all.
All right. So no action required tonight. We'll obviously be back in a month, or actually May 3rd, our next meeting, and this will certainly be on the agenda. And Dustin will open it up with a presentation, formal presentation. Any other items to come before the council tonight?
As long as we're talking about this, just remind people to get their yard waste out of the street before the plows have to come through.
Thanks, Diane. I talked to Dustin tonight, and he said they downgraded the amount at like about 4 o'clock this afternoon to 1 to 2 instead of 3 to 5. So I feel a little bit better about that, but I think it's going to be white at some point. So, but thank you. Good point. All right. Well, we had a really neat visitor this past weekend. Osman Aiken from City, New York came and installed a really neat sculpture down at the Buffalo Street Plaza. If you haven't had a chance to see it, go down and take a look at it. This was the work of the Warsaw Public Arts Commission, Susie Light and her group. And we're kind of starting to add quite a bit of public art to the community, which adds quality of life and really improves what we have to offer. So, but this was a really exciting, different type of sculpture. I think you've all maybe seen the pictures. Times Union did a nice job with their picture on the front page tonight. And I know, Dan, you were down covering, met with Osman. So really excited about that and proud of it. So get a chance to take a look at that. Anything else? All right. Jennifer, thanks for hanging in there. Scott's already sent me a text. He wants Lynn to send him the information about what fund this needs to go in. And
Mayor fund.
no, don't say that, Lynn. Don't say that, that's not funny.
Maybe not to you.
Okay, the council fund, how's that?
No, no.
All right,
No.
good enough. Well, I think it's probably time to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Is there a second? I heard a couple of
Jerry.
it, so. All right, thank you. See you, Diane. Scott, thank you.
Where's Oakley? Where's Oakley?
Don't go anywhere, I think
I
we have
had to
some.
humor about them, going the extra mile, because I have one little old lady that calls me.
Boy, I never
She's a little
thought
forgetful,
He's
and
very
I got
cute.
confused on her trash day.
bring everybody
And she
together.
calls, Lee, they have to do my trash.
All right, get out of
So
here.
for